What is up, Alien Army? I am Oculus, the alien next door, purveyor of esoteric lore. And on this channel, we discuss everything out of this world. So today's topic, we are going to be doing another motherfucking podcast style here. And we do have a few things to cover. This is going to be in regards to the Nodal Shift that occurred, I believe it was on January 18th. I have another video on it, which if I remember, I will link below. But I was asked if I would do a video in regards to what the Nodal Shift would mean specifically, depending upon your each individual astrological placements and houses. So the information here is going to be channeled just in a broad sense of astrology, what the Nodal Shift is going to mean, dependent upon the house placement that you in your astrological natal chart have the axis of Taurus and Scorpio. We're also going to be discussing if you have intercepted axis of Taurus and Scorpio. And I do have linked in the description box where you can find your birth chart and your houses, yada, yada, yada. So first, what I do want to say, this is, as I'm filming this, the North Node is currently in 29 degrees Taurus, so we are first noticing that the nodes, they do move backwards. So instead of starting at 1 degree, we are starting at 29 degrees. And this is just the way the nodes move, okay? I don't really understand the fucking technicalities of it. I don't really give a fuck, but just keep in mind that the nodes, they do move backwards, okay? That's why we just came out of Gemini, Sagittarius. Now we're moving into Taurus and Scorpio instead of from Gemini, Sagittarius into Cancer, Capricorn, okay? So the nodes move backwards. Now, currently the North Node is in Taurus and the South Node is in Scorpio. And when we are going to be we're going to be doing this by the houses. So the houses that you have Taurus or Scorpio in, those are now, from what I've channeled and just a broad general sense of astrology, they're going to be quote unquote activated. So any celestial bodies or points that you have there within they're going to get a little nudge. Now, depending on how the nodes move, like let's say right now I said it's 29 degrees. If you have a placement that's in 4 degrees, you might start feeling the effects of it, but you're really going to feel it once the node moves into maybe like 10 degrees. Then it's going to be, you know, tapping that ass of the motherfucking 4 degree. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be riding that motherfucking ass. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be butt fucking a motherfucker. Okay? Because the nodes move backwards. Hit it from the back. Oh, yeah. Okay. Anyway, I just had to throw that in there because why the fuck not? Anyway, so let's get into, I am going to list timestamps just because this video is going to go through the 12 houses. So I would recommend that you continue following what I'm saying here before moving on to your timestamp. I mean, if you've already moved on to your timestamp, you ain't even listening to this. But for those of you that are, you the real motherfucking MVP. And let's start with, let's say, the celestial bodies that are in the houses of Taurus and Scorpio. For you, as I said, they're going to be feeling the effects of the transit. So if these houses already are active in your chart, which simply just means that you have placements in there, then you want to notate what the planets, celestial bodies, or point means. So you might have this transit that's going on with your ascendant and midheaven. They are not celestial bodies, but they are points on the natal chart. So those will be activated as well. And let's see, I'm looking at my voice notes. So if you have Taurus and Scorpio intercepted, this is the one thing that I do want to let you know. And if you don't, then you can just feel free to move along ahead to your timestamp because this is not going to apply to you. If this does apply to you, you want to look at if you have any placements in Taurus or Scorpio. So let's say you have, whatever placement, and the placement, the planet or celestial body is in Taurus in your chart, but the house is not Taurus. Let's say the house would be Gemini, whatever, like, because the adjacent, the intercepted house is always going to be an adjacent sign. Again, technicality, I don't really I'm gonna be honest, I fully don't even understand too much how intercepted houses works. I just know it intuitively, so it might be weird for me to explain, but the intercepted house of Taurus is going to be either Aries or Gemini, because those are the two adjacent. So if you have, let's say, Venus in Taurus, but the Venus is in whatever house, let's say the 8th house, Venus is in 8th house in Taurus, but your 8th house is Gemini and not Taurus, then that is where you would look. You would look at the 8th house, even though it's being intercepted by Gemini. The house is governed by Gemini, but the placement you have is in Taurus. That is an interception. You're just going to want to look at the 8th house, even if it is not there in your chart. Okay, now for intercepted houses, this transit might actually have more of an impact on you, simply because the interceptions, they do want to be displayed, especially if you have placements there, because they are being, you know, they're not going to be really operating at their full potential because they are intercepted. So they are going to be carrying the traits and characteristics of both signs. So Venus and Taurus in the 8th house is not only going to have traits and characteristics of Taurus Venus, but it's going to have traits and characteristics of Gemini Venus. So the interception here is going to be as well activated for that placement, because there are no voids in the astrological chart, right? But it's going to be more something along the lines of a double effect, simply because, you know, now it's like Taurus is being activated. Venus is in Taurus natally, but Gemini is like the frosting on the cake. It's like now the Taurus North Node is coming through, and it's like, yo, what's up, homie? I'm here to liberate you from that interception. So you might start noticing more Taurian traits rather than Gemini characteristics in your experience of this transit, because it's just going to simply hype up what's already there. The Taurus is already there. It's being intercepted by Gemini. It's following the rules of the house of Gemini. Now you're going to notice more Taurus traits amped up, and the same would go for Scorpio. So that's how you would interpret it if it was an interception. So now we're just going to get into the predictions and the general knowledge of how this transit is going to have an impact potentially in your natal chart. Okay, so the North Node is meaning destiny. You know, not really a term I like to use, but it is what it is. North Node essentially equates to like fated encounters and things like that. South Node equates to things that you have already learned. So keep that in mind as we proceed along. All right, so let's go into North Node in Taurus. If you have North Node, if you have Taurus, my God, this is going to get fucking wild. If you have Taurus in house 1, how this North Node shift is going to affect you. And if you have you have Taurus house 1, you're going to have Scorpio house 7. All right, so this is the axis that we're talking about here. So the transiting North Node with the Taurus house natally in house 1, your sense of self is going to be more solidified during this transit, because you've already built up the momentum of how you emotionally have interluded with others via the 7th house. Okay, because if your 7th house is Scorpio, then it's going to be more of your interaction with others and your potential partnerships, such as marriage and things like that. You've already kind of mastered that on an emotional level. Now it's time to solidify what you have mastered on an emotional level in the realm of the physical, which would be Taurus. So for you, this transit is going to be an example of how you maintain your own sense of self, even whilst you are perhaps maintaining a relationship with others. This is about how you are going to solidify yourself, your self-worth for yourself in your own eyes. Your sense of self is going to be regenerated and solidified in the physical material realm. So this might have something to do with you've already mastered who you are in the relationship, right? Whatever it is, if you're the breadwinner, if you're the caretaker, if you're the nurturer, if you're the whoever you are, okay, in your relationships, you are going to now, or even if let's say you're not in a relationship, that it's just you've already mastered emotionally who you would potentially be in a relationship, okay, or who you have been in the past in a relationship on an emotional level. Now this is who are you that would be outside of the relationship. This is you discovering or rediscovering your sense of self, how you value yourself, how you see yourself through your eyes as just you. So we're going to just remove the relationship for a minute here because you've already mastered that emotionally. Now it's time to solidify. Let's say you are the breadwinner in your relationship. Now it's time for you to realize that in yourself. I'm the breadwinner of my relationship. That is going to be more ingrained into your self-identity of how you view yourself, because perhaps you didn't realize that you were the breadwinner in your relationship, but now you have, and you're like, yo, I'm the fucking breadwinner. And this is going to be more stabilizing that, because we have this fixed axis here of Taurus and Scorpio. This is stabilizing that. So you stabilize your emotions in that area with that Scorpio. Now you are going to stabilize your sense of self. How you see yourself is going to become more stable in regards to that aspect. And we are definitely, you know, with the predictions that are just for every sign here, every axis, there is definitely going to be a solidification. There is going to be some perhaps material realm assistance coming to you. There's going to be money coming to you, perhaps a stable living situation. Something is definitely going to solidify because you have already opened up to your sense of self. So this might be you securing a new home for you and your family or something along those lines. This is going to be something about you coming into some sort of physical, tangible sustenance because you have already mastered your self-identity. This is who I am. This is who I have been, whatever applies to you in my relationships. Now I see that in myself, whereas maybe perhaps I did not see that before. And because of that, you will be blessed by the universe, by physical sustenance and resources. So Taurus in house 2 and Scorpio in house 8. This transit, the North Node, activating your house 2 in Taurus and activating your house 8 in Scorpio. This is going to be something more along the lines of, you know, because these are the natural houses of Taurus and Scorpio. So, you know, this transit is going to feel at home here. So this is going to be more about how someone has already mastered themselves. They've ventured into the skeletons in their closet with the 8th house. They've done that. They've done the emotional work, so to speak. They've done shadow work on whatever aspect was perhaps bothering them. They've already dealt with the dark side of this, and now they are ready to reap physical, tangible rewards to be able to supply for themselves in the physical realm. So let's say if someone had a construct that they dealt with the Scorpio 8th house, that's something they've already mastered, right? They've mastered it emotionally. They went in, they put on their fucking scuba gear, they dove deep. They were like, you know, they were asking themselves, why did they struggle to produce physical, tangible results in a particular area? But they didn't realize that there was like a mind nonsensical program running in the background with the 8th house of emotion. So then now they move in with that. They've already done that, right? Let's say you've already done that. And then now you can produce a tangible result in the physical because of energetic effort that you've already put in with the 8th house. And this is about releasing and changing yourself from the inside out. So you've already changed yourself from the inside out. This might have even been something that is considered taboo by the mainstream, and you had that within you, and it was preventing you from achieving physical, tangible results in whatever area that is. So let's say if you had, you know, because this has to do with, you know, this axis is like 8th house, other people's money, and then 2nd house is wealth you accrue for yourself. So it could be something like you inherited a sum of money from a deceased person, whoever it is, it's considered taboo because you didn't really, quote unquote, perform physical effort with it, where you're like, you know what, like that money did benefit me, and now I can start producing results from that. Perhaps you, with that money, you open up your own business. You yourself, with that money that was gifted to you, you open up your own business in the 3D, and then you start producing results for yourself. Even though someone might say, oh, well, you didn't work for that money, it's like, but this money was gifted to me from someone else, right? So you can look at it that way. That's just one example. But that is something that is likely to, you know, it's something that others might have frowned upon, and then you had to go in and emotionally dive deep and be like, why the fuck a motherfucker is frowning upon this? And then you kind of solidify something that might be frowned upon in mainstream conventional society, and then you just move forward and you're able to create something brand new for yourself from that. Because Taurus, second house, this is something that it's like, it wants you to solidify no matter what the means, and you are stabilizing yourself with perhaps something that was gifted to you from elsewhere. So let's see let's look at the, oh yeah. Okay, so with these predictions here, now we have your greatest wish that might have seemed far away is going to present itself to you in the 3D realm. It's going to present itself to you sometime when this transit is going on. So right now, as I'm recording this is somewhere in like the beginning of this fucking transit. So, I mean, I don't even remember the fucking days that this transit is be going on for, but there is a great wish that you have wanted to attain for quite some time, and it is going to be fulfilled at the time of this transit, in no matter what sector you are thinking about. So let's look at now the North Node transit if you have Taurus in house 3 and Scorpio in house 9. So with this, the energy of fixed earth, the Taurus is going to want to make something stable in these mutable houses here. So Taurus house 3, if this is, you know, if you natally have Taurus in house 3, what's going to happen is that basically what's happening now is that you might have had some sort of thing where you had to learn on your own. You had to deep dive into your own beliefs and thoughts and philosophies with that Scorpio house 9. You had to deep dive into these philosophies and your belief systems, and perhaps you had to you had to, like, you shared it with maybe you had to, maybe you didn't, you had to share it with others, or you chose to share it with others on a more impersonal type of level, right? Like perhaps you were just you were traveling, you were gathering different types of information from different places, or maybe you were writing in a blog just to reach a vast amount of people in a short amount of time about your different philosophies. Because of the research that you have conducted on your own in regards to whatever your belief systems are, the way that you view the world, your code of ethics, spiritually and whatnot, because you've already done this, now it's time for you to share these things to individuals that are in your intermediate surroundings in your personal life. Let's say a sibling, a co-worker, someone of that nature, okay? And this is time for you to solidify that and start broadcasting yourself as your authentic self, as your belief systems entail that you picked up and learned along the way with that Scorpio 9th house. You've already fact-checked your fucking self, and you're just like, okay, I know what the fuck I'm talking about, but maybe you didn't feel comfortable sharing it with those closest to you in your immediate environment. This is what the Taurus North Node transit is letting you know to do right now, because it will benefit you. So you solidify the knowledge that you have acquired from afar, that perhaps you have posted from afar, yada, 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 and then now you bring it home, so to speak. You bring it into your immediate environment, and you start telling your quote-unquote IRL, in real life, friends about it. and you might have chosen not to before because you're like, well, I don't know what they're going to think. These ideas are kind of out there. But this is saying that you will be warmly received by those who are meant to receive your messages, and you will intuitively know who is meant to receive your messages in regards to these philosophies. And it's time to share it on a more personal level, like having actual conversations with motherfuckers, you know, text message, on the phone, in person, individuals that you know personally that you would consider to be your peers. This is a time to share your ideas, solidify them as like, this is who I am, this is what I believe, and others will appreciate you for that. So yes, any type of, this is what we're doing for the predictions now. So for you guys with Taurus in the 3rd house, Scorpio in the 9th house, you are going to receive some sort of equilibrium and balance in your affairs. So let's say you were someone who is just writing blogs online about your ideas and philosophies and, you know, how the world works, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You were sharing that on an interpersonal level, like, you know, in the outer realm. Now you are going to receive somewhat of a balance in your inner realm where you are going to be perhaps individuals, like perhaps you had a blog and like individuals that you know personally were reading your blog and you would never think that they would be into the shit that you're talking about, but then they hit you up out of nowhere and they're like, yo, that fucking resonates with me too. And then now you get to expand all of the knowledge that you have required on the outer into solidifying that in your inner sphere as well. This way it's like you become that motherfucker. That motherfuckers are like, yo, if you want to talk about XYZ type of thing, whatever it is, your ideals, then they will send whoever it is to you, and then you start engaging on a more personal level, but it's going to balance out. So every thought or philosophy or belief system that you thought was out there that people might not accept or whatever, now it's going to start evening the scales, and you are going to start seeing fruition with individuals that are close to you that are more on your same wavelength. So North Node transit with someone who has Taurus in 4th house and Scorpio in 10th house. Now, this is going to be an area where your home life is going to be receiving some sort of stability because, you know, 4th house, it governs like Cancer and the moon and how you feel nurtured on a personal level and how you feel comfortable, right? And then the 10th house is more of like the public sphere, that public spectrum arena, things like that. So what you've done perhaps in the past with this Scorpio 10th house is like you've just come out of a cycle where it might be something, a sense of like that cliche quote, fake it until you make it. You might have been portraying yourself as someone that had it all together, but emotionally it's like while you were portraying that on the outside, the emotions, you might have been over analyzing or trying to figure things out on your own in terms of like, well, I mean, I'm portraying myself as having it all together on the outside, but what about on the inside, right? And you've performed steps to really work on the inner subconscious mind with the emotions, like how do I start feeling and living every day like I really do have it all together instead of just portraying myself to be that way. Now with this transit, it's that you are going to actually see the fruits of your labor, so that your home environment, your internal realm, is going to solidify into that stability that you have portrayed on the outside for perhaps a long time. You are not going to be someone who is faking it till you make it. You are someone who you in actuality did fake it until you made it, but because you've gone on the inside and said, well, what is going to make me know that I am already safe and secure, that when I present it, it's authentic and legitimate. And then you went on the inside and you looked at the emotions that were causing perhaps a contradiction in the way that you were portraying yourself and the way that you really felt on the inside. You've already mastered that. And then now you're going to go with this Taurus transit, the 4th house. It's like, well, you know, now we're showing you what is going to happen, and that is going to be the stability that you have sought for perhaps a while, and it is going to happen. So you are going to have a fixed space for you to either share your emotions or vent your emotions, or just a place where you feel warm and cozy, safe and secure, all of that jazz, right? You're going to actually have a physical, tangible place where you can do that. Even if, let's say, you're living in a situation, you have like 6 kids running around and a partner or whatever, if you have like 20 roommates and blah, 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 you are going to see the solidification of that. There is going to be a safe space that is going to solidify for you during this transit, where, let's say, even if it's just like a meditation room, a meditation closet, you're going to have that gifted to you by the universe, so that you have this safe space where you are able to emotionally decharge and unwind and relax, because you have been portraying yourself as having this exterior, being very like cool, calm and collected on the outside perhaps, but on the inside you're like, what the fuck? And then because you've already dove deep into those scorpionic waters, you're like, okay, like emotionally, like I'm already there. Now you don't have to necessarily put on a show. You actually have a space where you can go to recharge, even if it is just for 15 minutes in like a random closet in your fucking home, right? You go in the closet, it's a big walk-in closet, you have like a, you know, a light bulb in there, and you go in and you just sit and you relax, and you're like, okay, you will be presented with a place where it is safe for you to just unwind and relax and re-nurture yourself. Or perhaps you'll be presented with another living situation that's going to bring more peace to your inner realm, the way that you have projected peace in your outer realm. So predictions for you is that even though at some points, like I said, with that outer facade that you might have been carrying around, the spiritual realm has always been on your side throughout this whole thing, but there were times that you cannot see it. So the important thing is to trust and focus and know that everything that you can imagine or envision that is a physical, tangible sustenance is already there. It already exists. And the key for you during this transit is for you not to be focusing on lack, no matter what goes on. Even if it's lack, like you wanted to talk to someone about something important and like they missed your call. You're like, oh, like when am I going to get to speak to them, right? That, you know, it's some small minor thing, could be, you know what I'm saying? But now you're like, okay, like when am I going to speak to them? It's like, well, you were meant to speak to them maybe an hour from when you made the phone call, because perhaps they were not in the best place. Maybe they were stuck in traffic and they would have snapped at you if you had called them in that moment and they had picked up the phone. So it seems like you were in a place of lack when you called them and they didn't pick up, and you're like, oh my God, I want to talk to this motherfucker. But in essence, the spiritual was guiding the physical the whole time. Like, yo, this motherfucker's in traffic right now. They not even going to be in the headspace to hear what you have to say. So then they call you back in an hour. But during that hour, you perceived yourself to be in a state of lack. But it was really like, you know, your third eye, the oversoul that was looking out for you. Like, yeah, they didn't pick up that call because that phone conversation would not have went well had they picked up in that moment. So it's important, even with like things like that, for you to keep in mind that there is always going to be a higher and greater purpose, and for you to not focus on any type of lack is going to build the potential for wealth and abundance. So let's get into North Node transit with Taurus house 5 and Scorpio house 11. So let me take a sip of water. Okay, so when you have natally Taurus in house 5 and Scorpio in house 11, this is going to be where you are going to have some sort of childhood dream fulfilled, okay? Because I feel like this is something that it's like, I'm getting like the image of like a Cinderella story, like when you wish upon a star, you know what I'm saying, shit like that. I'm sensing that there's going to be a dream that you've had, like perhaps you wanted to be a recording artist, you want to be an influencer, you wanted to be a fucking whatever the fuck, okay, whatever it is, it's something that I feel like you wanted to maybe go mainstream with for a while. Is like a childhood dream. Even if the childhood dream is just becoming well known in like your town or your circle of friends for something. I feel like that is pertinent here. That's something that you've already fantasized about and you've emotionally exuded effort into. So what's happening is that essentially it is going to solidify with this transit of the Taurus and Scorpio, because with this Taurus in the 5th house, now the 5th house is also naturally fixed, as is the 11th. So this is something that you might have had going on within your psyche for quite some time. This is not just like a lofty ambition that you're like, oh, you know, someone wakes up one day and they decide they want to like quit their job and become an entrepreneur. No, this is something that has been within you for quite some time, and you've been trying to manifest it, and you've envisioned your life how you would be if you were already in that position. And because you've done the emotional effort with Scorpio 11th house, that energy, now it's going to come, and it's going to be, it's like a childhood dream come true. I don't know why I keep like sensing that. Okay, this is something that you know, and it's gonna be different for everyone, but this is something that you have dreamt of for a long time, and you always wanted to make it happen. You always want to see it happen, but now it is going to happen with this transit of the Taurus coming into the 5th house. Okay, and this is, you know, the dream is going to be dependent obviously on the individual, and also what is going on in the 5th house, because it's going to show you in what area the dream is going to be fulfilled, by what means. Okay, so this is, you know, this is something really, like, let's say if you have Uranus in the 5th house, let's just say it's going to be, the dream is going to be fulfilled like unexpectedly and like by chance. Okay, it's not going to be something, whereas like if Saturn is in the 5th house, it's going to be something that you planned out a meeting, and then you went to the meeting and the meeting went well, right? So take a look if you have any planets in there, because that's going to show you more of the context of how this childhood dream is going to come true. But this is going to also offer you like physical realm sustenance, where you feel comfortable even expressing your like childlike innocence and joy in that area, and people are going to notice that aspect of you. Okay, people are going to start recognizing you for whatever this dream entails. Like, you're going to start to be noticed as, like, let's say you're someone who you always wanted to, I don't know, open an ice cream store. Now people are going to start recognize you as like so-and-so, the ice cream individual, right? Even if it's just like in your hometown or whatever, it's going to be something along those lines where you're going to be recognized on a personal level as someone who is living out your childhood fantasies. Okay, so let's see other predictions. I feel like that's kind of a prediction, but okay, yes, so this is also a time for you to definitely explore uncharted territories. This is not the time to hold back. This is a time to really, if you see, like I said, I did mention, thank you, universe, a chance opportunity or something. If there's a chance opportunity, just go with it, trust it, okay? Your intuition is not going to guide you ever in the wrong direction. If it feels right, even though it might feel unfamiliar, this is saying like go for, that's going to help fulfill your childhood wishes. Something that is out of the blue, totally unexpected. It might be uncharted territory, but it's the right path for you to take. So moving along to Taurus house 6 and Scorpio house 12. So we have here the another immutable access, which is, you know, the fixed wants to solidify the mutable. So with Taurus house 6 and Scorpio house 12, now this is where you have emotionally, you dug deep, you scuba geared your way into some crazy ass fucking waters of the 12th house with that Scorpio, right? And you're like, okay, like, you know, you've kind of seen where you have limited yourself in your psyche, your emotional limits, like and this is a very psychic house, you know, the 12th house, right? But the 6th house is really like taking psychic abilities and solidifying them to kind of present a physical, like, quote unquote, real world solution to emotional things that have been going on within the psyche. Okay, so because you've mastered yourself on the level of like the Scorpio 12th house, you have surfed the waves. You're like, okay, I know what makes me tick. I know where I imprisoned myself with my own false beliefs and emotions and blah, blah, blah. You've seen where you've imprisoned yourself. So now with that Taurus coming into the 6th house, this is like the house of health and service in relation to others and things like that. And to also solidifying your emotional psyche health into the physical, right? So let's say you you dove into your own psyche and you're like, wow, like I restricted myself this way, that way, XYZ. Like the 12th house, it can be it's like Tales from the Crypt up in that motherfucker sometimes, right? Especially with Scorpio there. Woo! But basically, since you've already dealt with your inner demons, so to speak, right? Things that were limiting you, right? Because that's also the house of asylums. You've already dealt with that. So now you saw where your own belief systems imprisoned you. And now it's time for you to solidify in your outer realm to make physically tangible. You make physically tangible that which you have already mastered on the inside. So let's say you were someone that you had a knack for being overly anxious or depressive or whatever. This is really going deep into the subconscious because this is 12th house, remember, with Scorpio. So this is something with your emotions that you have even kept hidden from yourself. Like this is you pulling the wool off of your own eyes and seeing that you were your own prison warden, so to speak. Okay, ain't nobody was keeping you in those confines of that fucking jailhouse of your emotions and your psyche except you. And then now, because you have emancipated and liberated yourself, you are able to go and share that with others through some sort of like service, whether you offer a service. Let's say you're a Reiki practitioner, and because you've mastered yourself with that subconscious and psyche, now you are able to perform physical acts of liberation to help others to emancipate themselves. That is the 6th house. This is saying, like, I've done this shit, now it's time for me to help you to liberate yourself. And this is something in regards to like a physical act. So it could be where you, even if it's just something, you don't want to go mainstream with anything, even if it's like you've mastered yourself, you are now able to, let's say a close friend comes to you and they're like, well, how do I XYZ, blah, blah, blah. It could even be something as simple as you like giving someone a specific crystal stone. That's a physical, tangible thing. Remember, we're talking about physical, tangible, 6th house, right? It's earth. So, and also Taurus is earth. So this is you doing something physically. Be like, listen, if you sleep with this stone under your pillow every night, that will help you to XYZ, maybe open up your consciousness, give you messages in your dreams. This is you performing something physically on a grand scale or perhaps a personal scale, whatever, because you've already mastered that. So now others are going to come to you. They are going to want your service to help them to liberate themselves. So let's see any predictions for this axis. Okay, so definitely there is a new potential here, especially, I did mention Reiki practitioner. Let's just use that as an example. So if, let's say, you have a healing gift, right? Because you've already went into the depths of the 12th house Scorpio. Now you go into the 6th house of Taurus and you're like, okay, well, you know what? I have a healing gift. Let's say you are a Reiki practitioner. Now it's time for you, because Taurus and 6th house are both dealing with also physical resources. It's time for you to get some coin for your motherfucking abilities too. And there is potential for, let's say, if you do want to start a new business, such as a Reiki practitioner, then you have the ability to do that and it will work out beneficially, because it's like, well, there's the potential here to actually have your healing gifts be administered to others and you will get paid for it and they will get healed for it. So that is, that's what I got for you guys. Let's move along to Taurus house 7, Scorpio house 1. So now we're starting to go into like the reverse here, right? We have Taurus house 7, but then we have Scorpio house 1. So, I was doing it from the house 1 to the house 7. Now we're just whatever, I think you get what the fuck I'm saying. Okay, so Taurus in house 7, Scorpio in house 1. So this is somewhere where you have really presented yourself as someone who might be more serious emotionally, and you might present like an outer tough exterior, but it's not necessarily matching the way you feel inside. Like inside, it's sort of like one of those like I don't know, I'm thinking of like a jelly donut, but like the outside of the donut, it's like deep fried, right? So the outside is crispy, but the inside there's like this oozing soft jelly. Like that's kind of what I'm picturing here. Just for this placement with the Taurus house 7 and Scorpio house 1. And this also has to do with, you know, how you view yourself and how you are in relationships. So I feel like you view yourself as someone who you have met your sensitivities and vulnerabilities, and you've recognized them, right? Like you've already done that, right? You know who you are from the outside, but you're not presenting yourself as someone who is really physically invested in a relationship, whereas on an emotional level, you are super invested in whatever relationship, right? And you don't understand how individuals can't see that within you, right? Because you see yourself, you see crispy outer and you see soft inner. You're like, but how do they not fucking know that I love them, right? But you're not showing that in the physical. You're just emotionally vibrating, like you're like emitting a frequency of love, but you're not displaying anything in the physical realm to your partner, because remember, this has to do with partnerships and sense of self. Now is the time where it'd be beneficial for you to really take that transit with Taurus to the 7th house to show some physical effort and actually build a solid and secure foundation in the physical with someone who you might have emotional feelings for. If that's not something you're in the market for, this is just more about you. I don't want to say like putting in more physical effort, but that's really the only thing I can say in this. So it's like if you're someone who you're just sort of like you know, a shoulder to cry on or something, it's like you would now maybe with this transit, you'd be like, oh, listen, you know, you would make some more display of it. You'd maybe, if someone wanted to talk to you, you would show up at their house instead of just, you know, emitting a frequency like, well, I'm always here if you want to talk to me, but you're not doing anything, right? You're just emitting that frequency from that Scorpio energy of the 1st house. Now it's more like the Taurus, like that show of affection, right? Because Taurus energy can be showboat as well. It likes nice things or physical gestures. So it's more of where you're going to come into a place of being more comfortable expressing yourself on a physical level rather than just emotionally sending motherfuckers telepathic messages. Okay, like that's the energy I'm getting. This is like a weird example, but it's going to show more promise in, like, if you present yourself physically, like if you're more hands-on, even if you're more touchy-feely, you know what I'm saying? Even if you become more passionate with your partner, or you just become more passionate in expressing your feelings rather than keeping them inside, that is going to actually show benefit for you, because you've already solidified, you know how you feel, you know who the fuck you are, right? With that Scorpio 1st house, but the Taurus is coming through to be like, well, you know who you are, but have you shared it with anyone? Have you cared to even explore that with anyone else? Because if you do, then you might receive more benefit with that. Okay, so let's see if there's any predictions. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so this is the time for you to really just relax. I'm sensing also with this is that there might be something with, like, you know, Scorpio is water, fixed water, so you can have a tendency to dwell in your emotions for quite some time. So this is saying for you to just relax, and if you think that, you know, you can have intense emotions, right? But the thing here is saying that if you just relax and express your emotions more, and I'm not only when you feel comfortable, obviously, but if the more you express your emotions, the less you're going to have to worry about people thinking something about you emotionally, right? And it can be, you know, a task for like a Scorpio placement to actually open up and share their emotions. But I feel like that with the Taurus being more emotionally expressive, obviously with only those who you trust and feel comfortable doing that with, the more you're able to do that. Like, let's say someone pisses you off and you just go silent or whatever, it would serve your mental prowess and psyche to a greater extent if you just said to them, listen, when you said this, I got upset because of XYZ. If you just express that, it is going to reduce any type of stress or anxiety or any type of negative emotion that you have going on about yourself. And there's nothing to be afraid of if you do express your emotions in, like, you know, the physical realm to those who you might be in a relationship with, or just someone that you're very close to. So Taurus, let's say you have Taurus in house 8 and Scorpio in house 2. So this is like the reverse, right? Because Taurus naturally governs house 2, Scorpio naturally governs house 8. So this is the reverse. So if you have Taurus in the 8th house, what's going to happen is that basically you are going to get activated to really do like a physical inventory of things that are emotionally bothering you. There might be the sense to purge, physically purge things of an emotional value. So let's say you, I don't know, let's just say, because, you know, again, we're dealing with fixed signs and fixed houses, so there's a tendency to hold on. So if you have South Node in Scorpio in the 2nd house, there might be holding on to things for sentimental value, and they don't really mean anything to you. And every time you look at that thing, it's causing you like grief or detrimental emotions, whatever. Now is the time to purge those things on a physical level, purge things that are emotionally obsolete to you, okay? And you can look at something, and if it's causing you bad vibes, let that shit go. Let that shit go. Let it go. This is something that is going to come up for you with this Taurus 8th house North Node transit. It's like, listen, like you might have saved a shirt from when you were 5 years old, but that shirt reminds you of someone who caused you pain and grief. It's time to reevaluate that. Let that shit go. This is time to release things that you have physically that have caused you emotional upset. This is really coming in strong for this group. I don't know why. Okay, it's time to let it go. It's not providing any physical value. It's providing you emotional pain. Every time you look at that t-shirt from when you were 5 years old, you saved it, it got fucking moth holes in it and shit now, right? It's stained, it got pit stains and shit, and you holding on to it for what? Because perhaps on a subconscious psychological level, it brought you comfort to look at that so you could relive the pain. This is, you know, because Scorpio's 2nd house, right? Physical reminders of emotional upsets. So now we want to reverse it. And I feel like there's like a good house cleaning going on. Maybe energetic or emotional exorcisms, okay? I feel like there's going to be reevaluating of things, but it's more be things of physical, tangible sustenance. So if you have any emotion attached to a particular thing, you want to go in and you want to exercise your motherfucking self. You be like, yo, why the fuck am I holding on to this? You know what I'm saying? You don't even like that shit. That shit gathered dust and shit, but you hold on to it. Why? For sentimental value, but you don't feel right when you hold it. You feel like you're reliving those past memories that you don't even want to relive. Time to let that shit go. House cleaning. I'm thinking spring cleaning. I don't know why. I'm picturing someone like going around the house just tossing shit, throwing shit away, calling 1-800-GOT-JUNK and just be like, yo, motherfucker, come pick this shit up. I don't want that shit no more. Okay, this is just letting physical things go that are physical reminders of emotional trauma, because you've already surpassed that emotional trauma, right? Like you might have saved that t-shirt, right? And in your inner psyche, you already understand the t-shirt has no value. It's just there because it reminds you of a memory. You can always keep that memory without keeping the t-shirt. The t-shirt is actually a physical reminder of a memory. When you only have a memory, that's all you need. The t-shirt doesn't mean anything. And I feel like there might be a hoarding for some of you with physical objects that you just don't need. This is time to let that shit go. I feel that coming in very, very strongly for this group. You got to let that shit go during this transit. And it's going to help you to release things in a healthful way. Like I said, you know, energetic exorcism, because you've already established what that thing means to you, right? From an emotional level with that Scorpio house too. You've already established that you know what it means. There's nothing to really more dissect with this. It's just you need to physically gather up the courage and let it go. So let's see here. Yeah, so then now, once you let that shit go, you have the potential to move in any direction you want on the chessboard, because you have now balanced the forces of a physical thing that brings a memory and just the memory in and of itself. So now you are going to have some movement forward from a more balanced perspective. So let's say if you even wanted to move to a new home, but you have sentimental value to the old house, but yet the old house also has memories that you're not so fond of, it's time to let that go and to start fresh with something that you're actually going to be able to move forward in. You don't need to stay stuck in the same place or hold on to something physically tangible just because it has memories, because there's the potential for you to move forward, because it's going to feel like an emotional and perhaps even a physical weight has been lifted off your shoulders, because now when you call the moving company, instead of having 50 boxes of bullshit from 70 years ago, you have like 20 boxes of shit that you use daily, and then guess what? The moving fee is going to be less because you have less boxes to transport to your new location, okay? So that's what I got for you guys. Let's move along to Taurus in house 9, Scorpio in house 3. Take some water here. So Taurus in house 9 and Scorpio in house 3, I feel like you have, it's time for you to really embark on whatever journey that you have been discussing with your friends or peers or coworkers or comrades. I'm sensing that it's time for you to really solidify those plans into action, because with Scorpio house 3, this is someone that you've like analyzed everything. I feel like from every type of potential. You might have gotten other people's opinions, you might not have, but I feel like this is just something that maybe you've made observations about those around you, and you're like, well, I don't know if I want to be stuck in the position that they're in, and you've thought about it. Perhaps you've mulled it over like intellectually, but you haven't been psychologically ready to take that leap to actually physically move. So I'm sensing that there's going to be like a bustle of activity for this group, and it's not going to be something that you're unprepared for, because you've already kind of prepared for it intellectually. Like I said, you might have spoken to different individuals. Let's say you, I don't know, you spoke to someone who is working at like a location that you want to visit, and you're like, well, how do you like it over there? You know, what do you think? Like, it could be a former colleague, right? Like, you've had a conversation. Well, what's it like working in this location as compared to wherever, right? I feel like this is something that you might have even looked at, like booking trips or looking at like hotel itinerary. Like you've already done some sort of like legwork from an intellectual standpoint on this, but you just haven't taken the plunge to like solidify those plans into action to actually get out there and explore. And what this transit is entailing is saying that you are going to actually be presented with an opportunity for you to go out and physically experience like the what you have spoken about or what you have already researched. Okay, so it could be from anything. Like I said, you know, you want to relocate to your company's branch in another country. You spoke to a coworker that you used to work with, now they work there. You're like, oh, well, how do you like it? You're kind of like dipping your toe in the water without really like I see that you've been sensing what would it emotionally feel like if you were in those circumstances, right? And you've gathered enough information from like your close personal database But I feel like you haven't taken the leap yet. And now it's time for you to take that leap and for you to be like, okay, well, you know what? If I go there, I've already done so much emotional and intellectual research into this. How would I feel if I went there? What would I be thinking if I went there? What do the individuals who already live there? Or like, I'm sensing like a change for you in terms of location. Even if it's just if you want to drop everything and become like a traveling vlogger, I'm sensing that with this group. But even that has solidification, because if you are a traveling blogger, yes, you're physically moving from place to place quite often, but there's solidarity in you are a traveling blogger. There's solidification into that. Okay, that's what I'm sensing. This might be, I don't know why pilgrimage just came to mind, but some of you might want to go and study with monks in Tibet. Some of you might want to go to I don't know if it's still there. Osho has like a commune in India. Like some of you might want to just pick up and go there for a little bit. I don't know. I'm sensing something with that. You've already done the research intellectually. Now it's time for you to just, you know, book that plane ticket in the physical and go there. Okay, so predictions of you, yes, you following what you have already put thought into is going to, this is going to perhaps bring you a new business partnership or a new romantic interest. Okay, it depends on your situation, but once you solidify you moving from just thinking about doing this into you actually doing this, is going to bring you a new partnership or a new business venture or a new potential to start out something new that is going to be much more emotionally fulfilling than the life that you are living now. So I would suggest that you just go for it. You're going to be intuitively guided when you are to go for it, and this is what is going to be coming to you during this North Node transit. So Taurus house 10, Scorpio house 4. Now with this one, we are dealing with the Scorpio house 4. So you are someone who has perhaps been emotionally closed off. You know how to self-soothe. You know how to nurture yourself. You know how to take care of yourself. This Taurus is going to be, I don't know why, but I'm seeing something sort of along the lines of like a Martha Stewart. I know that name is pretty controversial, but that's like the closest thing that I can think of, right? Like Martha Stewart is known for like having a lot of like home goods and how to keep your home cozy and like shit like that, right? You know what I'm saying? Like she is displayed on the outer as someone who is having a good grasp on the inner. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know her. I'm just using that as an example that I think someone might resonate with, okay? But that's what I'm sensing here, because you already emotionally know what fulfills you and nurtures you. Now it's time for you to just have that on the outside, perhaps share it with others. With this Taurus transiting your 10th house here, this is something where you are actually going to be able to maybe make a name for yourself in, let's say, something to, I feel like it's something to do with the home. I'm not gonna lie, okay? You might have been complimented on like, oh, like your home smells wonderful whenever I walk inside here. What do you do? And then maybe you're someone who you make your own floor wash or you make your own scented candles. There's something along those lines. This is obviously not going to apply to everyone, but I feel like it's something that you've already been doing on the inside in your home that makes you feel safe and secure and cozy. It's going to be brought out in like a larger, grander scale. This could also be in terms of someone who, let's say they flip houses, right? I don't know if there's like an actual term for that, but it's like someone will buy an old dilapidated house and then they'll fix it up and then they'll sell it for like so much more money just because of the effort that they put into that house. You know, physically they transform the house. I'm sensing there's something like that that's going to occur. I really don't know. There might be like, some of you might be interior decorators. I don't know why I'm getting that vibe for this group, but it's time for you to go mainstream, because there is a potential for you to actually make a decent living out of doing this, because I feel like this is something that you've already so much complimented on before. Even it's just the way you style your home or decorate it. It's something to do with that, okay? And then I feel like there's going to be like like a solidification of like building blocks. Like you're going to be able to display this, you know, in like the public realm, whether it's just even opening a physical tangible store where you sell your own scented candles in your hometown. I'm sensing that something like this is going to occur for you during this transit, for you to take your home life, how you relax and feel at ease in your inner home environment, to your outer environment. And there is really, I see like times of celebration in this as well. So there's also, you know, we're going into like the predictions now. So I'm also sensing maybe housewarming party. Maybe you bought a new house and you decorated it. You have a housewarming party. And then this is actually where someone suggests you, like, why don't you take your decorating tips and like make a blog about it? And then all of a sudden the blog blows up or something like that. I feel like there's going to be something beneficial that's going to come to you when you're with like a group of people. This might be, you know, it could also be like a wedding or something like that. You might be like I don't know what they're called, like a wedding planner or something, and it's time for you to take your business mainstream. Or maybe you did wedding decorations for a friend, and someone at the wedding approaches you and like, you really did these decorations, like here's my card, I can help you out with setting up your own business with, you know, doing this professionally or something. Like I'm sensing something like that is coming on for this group. Obviously use what pertains to you, but I'm sensing something that you've already been doing that brings you emotional comfort. Maybe, you know, it's just relaxing for you to make decorations. There's going to be an opportunity somewhere at like a gathering, or maybe a friend of a friend. It's going to be like where someone who you know might introduce you to someone who is going to help propel this area, or have a suggestion for you that you're going to help propel this area on your own. So let's go to Scorpio house 11, Taurus house 11, and Scorpio house 5. So for you guys with Taurus in house 11, now, what I'm seeing here, Scorpio 5th house, I feel like you have healed a lot of like childhood wounds. I feel like there might have been maybe an emotional disturbance or two that went on in your childhood, or something regarding like maybe you've been toying with the idea of like to have a child or not to have a child, or there's something to do with that I feel like you've already picked apart and dissected, and you already know where you stand on this, okay? I'm sensing more that's in the terms of like a childhood wound though, okay? So it could be something as simple, well, I mean, not simple, I don't want to undermine anyone's wounds, but it could be, you know, like you got like a 95 on a spelling test when you were in like 3rd grade, and you wanted to get 100, and that caused a wound or something, right? Like it could be something even like that. I'm sensing is like you've already done that deep diving detective work with that Scorpio energy in the 5th house, and now you are actually going to, let's say you you know, I use that weird example with the spelling test, but I mean it could be something where like, let's say you got a low grade on a math test, but now it's time for you to achieve your dream of becoming like a calculus professor or something, okay? It's like the opposite of that, because you've healed that childhood wound in that area. Now you're going to solidify, because remember, we're dealing with fixed houses here, Taurus, Scorpio, and then 11th and 5th. You're going to solidify, and it's going to be like a great something on a grand scale that you're going to be recognized for, that people are going to come to you like, how did you do that? Like, you made it look so easy. But meanwhile, they didn't know that because you got like a low grade on your fucking math test when you were like, when do you do math? I don't even fucking know. Like, you're 7, let's say, right? You got a low grade on your math test when you were 7, but now motherfuckers are complimenting you, saying, oh wow, like how are you so good at calculus, like you make it look so easy, right? But little do they know the emotional effort that you had to go in and pick apart, like why you even had the trauma about the low math grade to begin with. But now it's like you're going to be recognized. Like I feel like people are just going to start flocking to you in regards to something that you have healed on an emotional level from that Scorpio in 5th house. Like you've healed it. It's like, wow, like you thought that it was something that was very, very detrimental to you. It caused you a lot of perhaps emotional strife, but you've already dealt with it. So now you're moving into the Taurus with that 11th house. This transit is, you're going to become very popular. I see in whatever area that you've emotionally healed. So it could be something even like, let's say you never felt like you were worthy of like great friendships or relationships because you know, a child, your best friend when you were in 5th grade was like, oh, I'm not going to talk to you anymore, because you know that kids fucking do that sometimes. And then you felt neglected or rejected or whatever. Now it's like everyone's going to come at you wanting to be your friend, right? Because you had that wound, like in regards to like a friendship when you were a child. And I'm sensing more, this is something along with child or children. Now you have mastered that, you've conquered that wound, and now motherfuckers are going to come to you like everyone is going to want to be your friend. And you're like, whoa, how did this happen? Because you knew that perhaps at some point you had a complex about that, but now it's like everyone wants to be your friend. And that's something that you only dreamt of as a child, but you didn't think that it was actually physically attainable or possible. But now with this Taurus, the solidification with the fixed earth, it's like you are going to be solidifying on a positive basis something that perhaps traumatized you in your formative years. So let's see, any predictions? Okay, so yeah, there's potential here for great emotional fulfillment, something that I feel like this is going to be an especially like quote unquote lucky time for you. Some of you might even have prominent Jupiter in your chart, or Jupiter in any of these houses, 11 or 5, or Jupiter in Taurus or Scorpio. I don't know why I'm sensing that. That's kind of random, but there is going to be a potential for like an extreme emotional fulfillment in regards to something that you healed as a childhood wound, or something in regards to children. Perhaps if you're a parent and like you had like a bad relationship with one of your kids, and now is the time that that relationship is going to come around and be rectified. Or it could be something where a parent of yours, when you were a child, like you had a bad relationship, and then now it's going to be a beneficial outcome betwixt you and that parent. It's something along those lines, but there's definitely emotional fulfillment coming here. It could be in terms of like an existing relationship or a potentially new relationship, but you've already healed that childhood wound, and now you're going to become like extra popular in that area that you healed. So let's move on to Taurus, house 12, and Scorpio, house 6. So with this one here, we do have the axis of 12 and 6. So Taurus, 12th house. Now this transit for you, this is going to be perhaps there are going to be some things psychologically for you that are going to come up physically, and it's time to really put those to bed. So for this axis, I sense this might be especially potent just because we're dealing with the 12th house here. And you know, the 12th house is where someone is their own prison warden. I believe I said that in another group, but that's what it is. It's like that's where you are keeping yourself locked away in like an asylum because you just don't want to, or you're not ready, or you're not aware of things that are going on in your own emotional psyche in regards to what's going on in that house. So especially specific placements, celestial bodies in the 12th house are also going to show you how this is going to be displayed and what perhaps you need to work on. So let's say if you have Mars in the 12th house and you know you don't really adequately express yourself when you feel wronged, right? Because it's like Mars, the energy, it's like aggression, war, sexuality, right? So you might be someone who's not comfortable expressing yourself on a visceral level, no matter what it is. It's time to unlock that Mars with this Taurus transit and to solidify that. So let's say, and I'm just using this as an example, but if Mars is in the 12th house, this Taurus is coming through, like now it's time to physically express what you have already been emotionally repressing. Because Scorpio in the 6th house, you have over-analyzed from an emotional level everything about yourself. Like you might be like wondering how come you can't, I feel like you might be someone who feels more of like a caretaker to others. I don't know why that might be for some of you, but you feel like how come I can't make XYZ motherfucker see the light when I see it so clearly with them? It's like, yeah, you might see something clearly with someone else, but you don't see it clearly within yourself because of the 12th house aspect. So with the Scorpio in the 6th house, you've already kind of mastered intuitively what you know is going on with other motherfuckers and why they behave in a physical manner. You've already mastered that. So now it's time for you to do that same thing with yourself on an emotional level with the 12th house. So now it's time for you to look at yourself, give your own consciousness and psyche the same scrutiny that you've given others. And I'm not saying you're scrutinizing others from like a, a detrimental way, like judging them. I mean, although some of you might have, but you've just been analyzing the behavior of others, and you feel and you know that you've already psychologically figured other motherfuckers out, and you can give them advice and shit like that, or you can see their situation going on so clearly. But when it comes to your own self, you in a way have had your blinders on. So it's time with this transit to the 12th house to look at what you have going on in your 12th house, right? 12th house Taurus, what planets are in there, if any, what asteroids, okay? You want to look at that, and you want to see, you want to analyze what is going on within you that you so quickly were able to pick up on other people that you were analyzed, because, it's impartial if it's someone else, but when you're analyzing yourself, it's like quite a different story, So then now is the time for you to physically express whatever is going on in your 12th house. Let the skeletons out of the closet, because they have been repressed from you, and you have either been avoiding them, or you couldn't see them, or it was just an illusion, because 12th house is naturally governed by Neptune. But when you start scrutinizing your own inner psyche, the way that you have scrutinized how others are behaving in the physical, that is your key to release. And this is what this transit is telling you if you have Taurus in the house, 12th house. So yeah, so now there's the potential here, okay? You guys are really going to be in a great position here. You might, some of you might be getting married, some of you might be having children, some of you might be just having this great emotional fulfillment within yourself. There's a potential for so many new things, so many new opportunities, and in all areas, okay? There's just a whole abundance here. There might be, I don't know why I'm picturing like a farm growing. Some of you might be into that, whatever pertains to you, but there's so much potential here. All of these seeds that you plant now, they are going to solidify in the physical, tangible realm by the time this transit is over. So you might want to check the date that this transit is going on for, because there are going to be some wild things that you plant the seeds, and I mean physically, right? Remember I said you physically want to present that which is going on subconsciously in the 12th house. So like I said with that example with Mars, if you start expressing yourself in a more confident manner, like you start setting more boundaries, you're planting the seeds for others to respect you, right? And then you're going to see definitely amazing yielded physical, tangible results by the time that this transit is over. This is the utmost time for you to go in, really dive deep into your psyche in the 12th house, see what you got going on in there. Analyze it the way you have analyzed others, and there's just going to be a whole lot of like fruition and bounty and rewards for you. So yeah, I need some water because I've been talking for a long time. This is what I got for you guys today in regards to the nodal transit. I am Oculus, the alien next door. We will chit chat again soon.